The story: The Clockmaker of Willow Creek. In the heart of a valley nestled between rolling green hills lay the small town of Willow Creek. It was a charming place of cobblestone streets, cheerful cottages with flower boxes, and a gentle stream that whispered secrets to the willow trees lining its banks. But the most enchanting thing about Willow Creek wasn't its scenery, it was its sound. Every hour, a soft, melodious chime would ripple through the air. It wasn't one single bell from a church tower. Instead, it was a symphony of dozens of different clocks, each in a different home, all singing in perfect harmony. One clock might play a tune that sounded like falling raindrops, another like a cheerful bird song, and a third like a gentle lullaby. The townspeople had lived with this music for so long that it had become the very heartbeat of their town. Yet, strangely, no one quite knew where the clocks came from. They were simply there. Family heirlooms passed down, gifts from forgotten relatives, or treasures found in dusty attics. The creator of these magical timepieces was a man named Elias. He was the town's clockmaker, though very few had ever seen him. He lived and worked in a small, dusty shop at the end of a forgotten lane, its windows clouded with age and its sign barely readable: Elias Thorne, horologist. Elias was an old man with silver hair, hands as steady as the pendulums he crafted, and eyes that saw the world in gears and springs. He preferred the quiet company of his creations to the noise of the world. He poured his soul into each clock, not just building a machine to tell time, but composing a small piece of music to give it a voice. He believed that time shouldn't just be measured, it should be felt. One crisp autumn day, a new family moved into the old cottage by the stream. With them came a little girl named Lily, who had wide, curious eyes and a heart full of wonder. On her first day, as the clock struck 3, Lily heard it, a beautiful, cascading melody that seemed to dance on the wind. She ran to her mother. "What was that beautiful music?" she asked. Her mother smiled. "Oh, that's just the clocks, dear. Everyone in Willow Creek has one." But for Lily, just the clocks wasn't a good enough answer. She began a quest. She would stand in the town square, closing her eyes, trying to trace the different melodies back to their sources. She'd hear a deep, resonant chime from the baker's shop and a light, tinkling tune from the library. Each sound was unique, a personality in musical form. The townspeople would smile at her fascination. "It's always been this way," they'd say, with a shrug. Determined, Lily decided to follow the faintest, most delicate chime she could hear, one she had never noticed before. It led her away from the main square, down a narrow, winding lane she had never explored. At the very end, tucked behind an overgrown ivy bush, was a small, dark shop. The sign was barely visible, but she could just make out the words. This had to be the place. With a deep breath, she pushed the heavy oak door. A tiny bell jingled above her. The air inside smelled of aged wood, brass polish, and the faint metallic scent of time itself. The room was a wonderland of clocks. Grandfather clocks stood like silent soldiers along the walls, their pendulums swinging in a silent, hypnotic rhythm. Cuckoo clocks with intricately carved birds slept on shelves, and tiny, delicate mantel clocks glittered under a single beam of dusty sunlight. From the back of the shop, a figure emerged. It was Elias. He looked surprised, even a little startled, to see a visitor, especially one so young. He asked, "Can I help you?" His voice was raspy from disuse. Lily's eyes were wide with awe. "Are you the one who makes the music?" she whispered. A rare, small smile touched Elias's lips. He had never heard his work described that way before. He simply nodded. Lily spent the rest of the afternoon in the shop completely captivated. Elias, seeing her genuine wonder, slowly opened up. He showed her his tools, explaining how he carved each gear by hand and tuned each chime with a tiny hammer. He showed her his masterpiece, a clock he had been working on for years. Its face was a map of the stars, and he told her that when it was finished, it would play a melody that changed with the seasons. "Why do you hide in here?" Lily asked innocently. "Everyone should see this. Everyone should know you." Elias looked down at his wrinkled hands. "The world is loud," he said softly. "My clocks, they make a quiet kind of sense. I didn't think anyone was really listening." "I was," Lily said firmly. "We all are. We just didn't know who to thank." Lily left the shop that day with a mission. She told everyone she met about the magical clockmaker at the end of the forgotten lane. She described the wonders of his workshop, the kindness in his eyes, and the masterpiece he was building. Slowly, things began to change. The baker brought him a warm loaf of bread. The librarian brought him a book of old stories. One by one, the townspeople visited the little shop, not just to have their clocks repaired, but to meet the man who had given their town its heartbeat. Elias was shy at first, but the town's warmth melted his reclusive shell. He was no longer the invisible clockmaker. He was Elias, their friend, and a town treasure. A few months later, on the day of the town's winter festival, Elias unveiled his masterpiece in the town square. As the clock struck noon, a hush fell over the crowd. From the clock, a new melody filled the air. A sound so pure and beautiful, it seemed to hold all the hope and quiet joy of winter. It was a song of community, of connection, and of a quiet man who had finally found his voice, not in words, but in the timeless, beautiful language of his art. And from that day on, the music of Willow Creek was a little bit sweeter, for now everyone knew who to thank.